Hey, what's going on, everybody? Come on in. We're gonna get started here in just a minute. What's happening, y'all? Come on in. Let me know who's here. What's up? What's up? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. What's happening? All right, y'all. So check it out. We're gonna get started here in just a minute. I came on a little bit early because we've been having technical difficulties and coming on. Hey, what's up, cuz? What's happening, cuz? Hey, man, we're getting started in a minute. I've been having technical difficulties, all kind of crazy stuff happening. Had a whole show put together for everybody. Then my computer just decided to it just died. But hey, man, you want to be in on this show? We know Dr. Caldwell. He's going to be calling in just a minute. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be running down tonight. Kendrick, since you're on, man, I need you to let me know which Monday you can come on, man, over the next couple of weeks, because I'm going to want to do a sports show with you, and we talk about what's happening in the sports world. I also, would you the chat, put in the chat what your subscription page is. Put in the chat what your subscription page is so that I can make sure that I share with everybody. Give me a thumbs up, making sure my audio is good, because I literally had to just make this happen like right now. And so it's just happening right now. So just want to make sure that the audio is good and cool, so y'all can hear me. So when Steve comes on, Dr. Caldwell, excuse me, when he comes on, we're gonna get started. Well, actually, not even when he comes on. Before he comes on, we'll get started at 5 after. But like I said, I need to get some stuff together. Hopefully, y'all can see me well. Give me thumbs ups, and let me know that you can see me, as well as can hear me. And so hopefully, as I see the chat, I don't know how this chat thing works. Oh yeah, okay. I don't even know how it works, but we're gonna check it out. But anyway, it's gonna be a great podcast tonight. Um, Want to welcome everybody as you're coming on, and yeah, we got a few things that we're gonna be getting down on tonight, and I hope that everybody's ready, because it's gonna be pretty phenomenal, especially this topic that I'm gonna be talking about. So, what's up? What's up? What's up? I would normally have a whole different setup and stage going on, but like I said, you got to know how to pivot, and that's a good thing to know. You do have to know how to pivot. You got to know how to make a quick turn. You got to know how to. You got to move. You got to move fast, like Christian McCaffrey. Not like my 49ers, but right now it's a little problem. So I'll give everybody a minute. We're gonna populate it. We sitting here chilling, just kind of waiting for the time to get started. But I wanted to come on a little bit early, so hang with me, Ken, man. I want you to, by all means, give me some feedback. I know you're the professional guy. You know how to do all that stuff. So, but I'm really excited about the podcast. Got some stuff coming up that's gonna be really cool. Got Bishop Noah Jones on deck. He's gonna be on with me in the next few weeks. Tonight, Dr. Stephen Caldwell. This is the pilot, so I guess if there was a time for this thing to be tripping out, I'm glad it's doing it early. Because the last thing I hate is to be losing in the fourth quarter. I ain't gonna preach about it. But while we're on here, another thing too, y'all, I want y'all to check out this fantastic, phenomenal book. Can y'all see that? This fantastic, phenomenal book by Pastor Myron Waddell. This book is like, it's really cool. So, Ken, that's fam, by the way, man. That's our cousin. And he wrote a book called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. What do you do? And so, at any rate, it's going to be great. We're going to get started. Let me go ahead and kind of start letting everybody know what the rundown is going to be. Every Monday, Mondays at 6:05 p.m. Central, 7:05 p.m. Eastern, will be coming on live. Sometimes I have guests, sometimes it'll just be me. Sometimes we'll be talking about, we will be talking about different topics, not even a sometime thing, but I'm excited about getting started, just getting launched. I mean, I could have just said, forget it. I could have just thrown in the towel and could have said, well, man, maybe it's not the podcast time to do the podcast, but you got to know how to pivot, right? You just have to know how to pivot. You got to understand that when you are trying to get something done, you're going to have all kind of challenges. You're going to have all kind of obstacles. You're going to have all kind of hurdles. You just need to stretch your legs and jump up over them, right? So as y'all come on, y'all hit me up. Tell me where you're watching us from, and give us a shout out. Make sure everybody hit us with a hashtag Temple Talk. Hashtag Temple Talk. And another thing, let me say this too, before I jump off into the official welcome and really get started. This is just some little pre-talking in the temple. You also got to know, man, that, just because everybody else doesn't have the same hustle that you have, and especially with you, fam, I'll be checking you out, man. Just because everybody doesn't have the same hustle that you have, don't let them stop you. Don't let people stop you just because they don't have the same tenacity or even the capacity. And sometimes people just don't have the capacity. They may have the tenacity, but they don't have the capacity. Am I in here with y'all? And so, yeah, tonight, not the best conditions and not what I wanted, but this is what we're going to get today. This is what we're going to do today. So as soon as Caldwell calls me, and we're going to have a conversation about, I sent him over a project to take a look at and to check out. But check it out, y'all. We're coming up on our start time. I'm really excited. Thank you all for jumping on. I appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already liked and subscribed. I was supposed to have a cool little graphic come up. I don't have the graphic because my computer's down. All right. But make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. All right. Subscribe and hit the bell. Y'all like my African look today. This is kind of like my African royalty look as well today. So hopefully it's coming across cool. So making sure everybody can hear me. Y'all give me a thumbs up on that hearing me. Let's get started. I want to welcome everybody in tonight to Talking in the Temple, the podcast. This is our first jump. Cool. Audio's good. I appreciate it, cuz. Our podcast is the first one. We're really excited about getting this platform going. I'm really excited about starting up this platform, and I'm hoping that it'll take off, it'll grow. We'll have informative information. We'll have, it's going to be a lot of entertainment. I can tell you that right now. We're going to be acting a fool on here in a good way. Trust me, we're going to be having a good time, and I'm really excited. I may even keep this platform if I can, but I have some other things I need to kind of get together, because for me to have guests, I got to have, the whole software thing. But check it out. What we're going to be doing every Monday, I'm going to give you what's called the feed. That's going to be the news. That's going to be the topics of the day. We're going to talk about the world situation, the national situation, state-to-state situation. We're going to talk about social situations and all the type of crazy stuff. And when y'all get some crazy stuff that comes in your social media, send it over to me, because I'm certainly going to get it on the show. But we're going to have the feed, and then we're going to have the focus, which is the topic that we'll be focusing on. Whatever that topic is for the podcast, we'll be focusing in on that. And then from there, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about social media funnies and all types of stuff like that. I got one of my boys, one of my Masonic brothers, Mr. 100. He is a culinary specialist. He's going to come in with a special food portion, talking about nutrition and everything like that. And then we'll talk a little bit about focusing on the family, just the dysfunctionality of the families. I know I ain't got the only one with the dysfunctional family, but we'll talk about the family. We'll talk about the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, the ins and outs of the family as well. And then finally, y'all know I can't close out my podcast with talking about the faith. So by all means, I hope that y'all will subscribe. And if you have not already subscribed, I hope you'll subscribe and hit the bell. And I can promise you by the next podcast, it's going to be going on. But right now, we're just going to pivot. We're going to make it do what it does. And we're going to talk a little bit while we wait on Dr. Caldwell to give us a call. When he jumps in, looking forward to him giving us a call, and then we'll get down into our topic. But want to welcome everybody out again, and certainly I appreciate y'all. But check this out: have y'all been watching what's going on in the world? Have y'all been checking out what's been happening overseas? I hope you have. Hamas and Israel and all the world wars and everything that's happening. That's a lot of stuff to contend with. That's a lot of stuff to think about. That's a lot of stuff to have to consider when we talk about the state of the world today. And so, by all means, I hope that everybody's keeping up with that. Make sure that you are making preparations that you need to make to keep yourself protected, to keep yourself safe, and to keep yourself in position to where you can look out after your family, look out after loved ones, and everything like that. The world situation is what it is. That's overseas. That's beyond our wheelhouse. However, it's important to stay very conscious of the fact that we are impacted directly by what's going on in the world. So by all means, don't be sleeping on CNN or Fox or MSNBC or whatever the news outlets or networks are. Make sure you're keeping up with that. All right. Now, this is where I wanted to go. This is where I wanted to go. And I'm sure Dr. Caldwell is going to call in shortly. But this is where I wanted to go tonight, y'all. Because we're going to be talking about, if you saw the graphic is dealing with healed and whole, right? Healed and whole. And I'll get to that in a minute. But before I get to that, I want to know if anybody saw the doggone Starquan Dwayne Washington funeral. Y'all holler at me. Did y'all see that? Did y'all see the Starquan Dwayne Washington funeral? 23-year-old young man, and I mean, apparently he was not just Starquan, but he was actually a star. I mean, this fella, from what I heard everybody talking about, I watched the whole funeral, and then I watched the burial, and I'm going to talk about all that stuff in just a minute. But nonetheless, I got Dr. Steve Caldwell calling in right now. Dr. Caldwell, are you on the line?
Okay, I was trying to get in on the other link there.
Yeah, the other link is down because we happen to do this new one. So I got you live right now on my speakerphone, sir. And I was literally, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I want to know if the people can hear you too, because, hey, y'all let me know if, hey, Steve, do a test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3.
All right, that's all I wanted to know. Just wanted to make sure you got a test 1, 2, 3. So check it out, man. This is what I was talking about, and then I'm gonna get you to chime in as well. So did you see the funeral? We're talking about Starquan Washington funeral. Did you see?
Yes, I saw about 25 minutes of the funeral.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This is what I saw. I mean, this is what I was looking at while I was watching the funeral. First of all, I saw it pop up on social media a couple of days ago, and I really didn't pay attention to it. And then I had somebody send it to me and say, hey, you really need to take a look at this, especially with the topic that y'all are going to be talking about, healed and whole. And so for me, let me just kind of, I'm going to jump out and then you chime in too. But for me, one of the things I saw, first of all, you know, it was interesting to hear the obituary read, because I don't know if you heard them when they said, you know, this is the funeral, it's the homegoing of Starquan Dwayne Washington, 23 years old. His mother is, I think, Jamel Washington, and they made mention of the estranged father, right? And I think his name was like Kendrick Wild or something like that. So, you know, yeah. You know, Starquan, if you saw it, and when you get to see the rest of it, for those of you that haven't seen it, when you see the rest of it, one of the first things that we do is that we automatically, what I thought about was how we just automatically go straight to judging people. We go straight to judging people. When the mother was going off at the funeral, and when she was, you know, going through her rant and everything like that, the first thing I noticed that I wonder if other people noticed, the first thing I noticed was this. Nobody stopped her. The second thing I noticed is that while she was going off, nobody interrupted her or anything like that. So what that tells me is that she must have financed it. Because you know how it goes with funerals. I mean, whoever's paying the dollars get the dialogue. And she was
Yeah.
up there, and she was talking about we gonna have church. She told her, "Come on, pastor." She was going off, and she said, "Ain't nobody coming in here that I don't want in here." All that type of stuff was what really kind of made me say, "Okay, it must be more to the story than what we're seeing," because most people are looking at it for.
Obviously,
What'd you say?
obviously more to the story here.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, she was saying stuff like, I'm more woman by choice than she was by force, and
By chance.
yeah,
Yeah,
man,
by choice or by chance.
man, listen, she was getting in at it. And so, with that in mind, what I was looking at, I kept looking at it. And while I was looking at it, I'm looking like, man, her incensed transparency ought to remind all of us, man, don't ever try to strip a naked man. Woo.
Correct.
Because sis
Correct.
got up and she said, listen, I prostituted myself for him. I sold drugs to take care, not for him, but to take, to take care of him. And then she goes
Mm-hmm.
on and she basically has disrobed herself. So anything that everybody had to say about her, she went ahead and said it. I know y'all already are calling me a hoe, because that's what the term is. Y'all are calling
Well,
me a
well,
hoe. And I
well.
know, what's that?
Let me say this. Her dignity was in her default because her life was defaulted to that
Yeah,
behavior as she saw it. So her dignity was in her default simply because she she expressed that there was no one there. Where
no
were you
one.
all at? I heard that what she kept saying. Where were you all at? Where were y'all at?
Yeah, man.
And so she found a way to find dignity in her default. Like as Paul said, I will glory in my tribulations
Mm-hmm.
and her struggles. She found a way to not justify it, but no longer to be ashamed of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what I thought too. I was listening, and as I was watching it, again, everybody has their opinion, and it's cool. Everybody, you're entitled to your opinion and everything like that. But there were some things I made a note of it, man. Um, she says, "Ain't nobody go no half with me." I went whole on that. She said, "We don't need to move swiftly. This is gonna be a long service." One of the things that I did notice is that she had a lot of multi generational support, not just some of the older people, but even the kids. And one thing about kids, man, whenever you see kids still gravitate towards somebody, because kids pretty much, the one thing I love about young people, man, they pretty much keep it 100. If they ain't dealing with you, they ain't dealing with you, right? If you somebody that if you somebody that they ain't trying to deal with, they not gonna do like grown people do. But what's interesting,
Right.
what I
I
saw.
would say that there. I'm sorry, Tim. I would say that there's a caveat with it
Mm,
because even though they keep it 100, they they don't have wisdom to really discern.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it is true. I mean, because they don't have the wisdom to discern. But one thing I think is that I think God protects them in a sense to where, He takes care of fools and babies, right? And so, with that in mind, what I was looking at, she was taught. I mean, as you said her. What you say about her dignity? Say that again.
She found dignity in her default
Yeah, man.
because her life was in her and with me just kind of using a sense of syllogism here. Her life default
Mm-hmm.
who she was. She had to use what she had to work with
Yeah.
to do the things that she needed to do for her son. And then she found out that what she was defaulted with, the anatomical structure, morphological soundness, she utilized that to advance her and her son.
Hey, man, I don't
And
mean
so,
to sound crazy, Doc. What's anatomical? What?
well, if you saw the video, you saw, in the words of the old 60 shake what your mama gave you, use what your mama
Oh
gave you.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Anatomical,
you know,
morphological. Yeah, okay, that was a big
yeah,
word for me. I think.
she she said she prostituted herself and everything. So, in other words, she felt like this is the body I was given, and instead of me giving it away for free, it's gonna cost you now. And so she was defaulted with these things, and she found a way not to be ashamed in her son's death, not to be ashamed of what her default was.
Yeah.
And she tried to find some dignity in her default.
Yeah.
Not justifying her behavior, but no longer being ashamed of her failure, if it's for some, or her lack of judgment.
Man, listen. Wait a minute. Hold on, Steve. Hold on. What part of Chicago are you from?
Southside.
Come on, man. Come on now. I mean, I know you all. You matriculated through the halls of academia, man, and you are, you professor and all this kind of stuff. But dude, let me tell you something, bro. This is what I see. Bottom line is, first of all, what you got to understand is this: everybody has a potential to snap. Everybody has snap potential, right? And at the end of the day, the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what her past was. And again, nobody's justifying it. I don't think anybody's trying to justify it, but I think it does explain.
Neither should the judge.
Yeah, and it's right. If it's just because it can't be justified doesn't mean it needs to be judged as well. And my point is about that, because tonight in the podcast we're going to be talking about healed and whole. I'll go ahead and tell everybody we're going to be talking about the 10 lepers, the 9 that didn't come back, and the 1 that did, and all that type of stuff. And don't worry, it's not going to be preachy, but this particular story
learn something.
Yeah, it goes right into what we're discussing tonight. Because out of all of that, she talked about her prostituting herself. She talked about her selling drugs. If you saw it and if you watch the rest of it, you'll see what she says. Mama ain't never went to jail. She says, Mama ain't never went to prison. She says, and she doesn't even talk about how she doesn't even say that she's proud of it. She's not boasting necessarily about how she's proud of it, but at the same time, she's saying, listen, I had to do what I had to do. And as you said from the beginning, she said, none of y'all, wait a minute, homeboy. She said, none of y'all were there. How many were there? None of them. None. And the whole time that she's out there doing what she needs to do to take care of her son, doing what she needs to do to try to, do the best she could do. The bottom line is there's a whole lot of people that flat back for finance. I wish I had a witness on the phone or on this YouTube. There are a whole lot of people that flat back for finance for different reasons. And oftentimes the reason they flat back for finance are normally selfish reasons, because it's always going to be a transactional transfer. I ain't got no help up in here.
Transactional transfer always.
Yeah. And so,
always.
Yeah, and so, she's up there, man, and I'm watching. She talking about, no, it's going to be a long service. We're going to get it together and everything. So nonetheless, everybody, in case you didn't see it, Starquan, Washington, it was the funeral service. And it was sad. It was frustrating. It had a plethora of emotions. There was a lot of up and down in it, as far as, just when you watch it. But, she's talking about how nobody went half with me. I went all the way in for my son, and most people, I was looking at some of the comments, and some of the comments were saying, were saying that the people, were saying, this is a mother who's hurt. This is a mother who's, she's going through, she's grieving, and absolutely she was grieving, but I don't think she was as hurt as people thought she was. The chick wasn't hurt, Doc. She was straight up pissed off. She wasn't, I mean, and because it was around a funeral, a lot of people want to say, well, she's hurt. No, she was straight up pissed off.
Yeah, even though in her festivity, there is an indication of her being hurt.
Absolutely.
And I want to point it out to you, it's not in the jargon, it's not in her being bellicose, belligerent. It's none of those things, but it was in her action of movement, not in what she said, but in some demonstrative way. She showed just how hurt she was.
Yeah.
Because she she got to wiping down the casket of her son. She got to clean the casket of her son. And for me, that was an indication of just how deep this thing was cutting her.
Oh yeah, man. That when I saw, she just wiped the casket the whole time, and when I saw that, man, it just, of course, that'll just tear anybody up, because you do
Exactly.
see. I mean, again, though, as you said, the way the people were saying that she was hurt, I can't even say that the hurt that you heard was more from the actual death of her son as much as it was the memory of the fact that everybody shows up when he's dead. Now you're here. Now you want to shine. That's one of the reasons, man. Listen, I've always said, man, my homegoing service may be invitation only. Because Carl Ferris said it a long time ago. What'd you say?
Put it in the wheel. Put it in the wheel.
Yeah, man. Hey, he said when you're alive, people will lie to you. When you're sick, people will lie on you. And when you're dead, people will lie for you. So, the point is, with that young lady, Jamel, Miss Washington, she ran down her own history, man. She stripped herself. So there's nothing you're gonna say to her. There's nothing you're not gonna offend her. There's nothing you're gonna do to her that's gonna make her any less or any more than what she is. What was so interesting, and you'll see it when you watch the rest of it, when you get up and hear everybody from senior individuals to his contemporaries, they all talked about how respectful the young man was. They all talked about how, because of her influence on the young man and how she took care of Starquan, how she raised him to be a young man. He had just become a young father himself. From the pastor to those who worked with him, to his teachers, to his peers, they all talked about that. Now, the crazy thing is, do you know the backstory on how he died?
No.
A friend, quote unquote, killed him.
Over what?
I don't even have a clue. I didn't even get into all the deep dive on it, but I do know that. And you'll see at the burial where they say, you'll see on the shirts where it says everybody ain't your friend. But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But here's
what I started to watch that a little bit.
Yeah. So here's what I wanted to share, because tonight, and this is gonna morph into what we're gonna talk about, man. This whole healed and whole, and I want you to share with the audience, man. Kind of what you shared with me on the piece that you did with that as well. But what I noticed was this: the issues I took with watching that service. First of all, nobody seemed to know how to either mitigate or establish order. That was just crazy to me. No one
tried.
Yeah, they didn't even try. Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, that let me know, okay, this is a finance situation, and Sister Girl must have paid for that whole situation, because there was nobody jumping up to slow her down, and I don't think they weren't jumping up not because they couldn't have necessarily accosted her or had her, removed from the funeral, but apparently she put the money down. So because she put the money down, she had the mouth. But the issues that I took with that, man, was that it just seemed like no one was even apparently conscious of the fact about the situation to even try and distinguish it, knowing that the impending fire was coming. The other issue that I had with that was this. She goes on this rant, and she's going off at the service. And while she's going off at the service, all of a sudden, when the pastor gets ready to get up, her pastor, he gets ready to get up, he's getting ready to do the service, you'll see where the estranged father's family, the entire family, gets up and literally walks out. Now, what was crazy?
I didn't get that far.
Say it again.
I didn't get that far.
Well, I'm telling you, man. Yeah, and we may have to come back. When for everybody that's watching now, I'm supposed to be on a whole different other platform, but the computer went out. I had to pivot, so that's why you get me like this, and that's why Dr. Caldwell is on the phone. But check this out. What was interesting was that while she was doing all that, and she was calling people out, she was calling them out by name, right? While she was doing that, it was interesting as they were transitioning, and you'll see it. The pastor's getting ready to get up. They finally come around. The service gets to going. She stands there by the casket the whole time. She stands there. She does
Right.
not leave. She doesn't leave his side. And so, as the pastor's getting ready to go forward with the service, the estranged family gets up, or well, the allegedly estranged. I don't know. I don't know the people, man. I'm just saying what was on there. But the estranged family walked out, and what was crazy was that when the estranged family walked out, she then tells, yeah, now tell everybody who's supposed to be in here to come in here. Man, when the family walked out, it emptied, but it turned around and refilled itself. What that said to me
Wow.
was, this ain't no joke. This lady, regardless of what you think of her, regardless of what you think of her lifestyle, or regardless of what you think, you know, how she's acting or whatever. Number one is her son. Number two, she raised him by herself apparently. And number three, nobody could feel the way anybody
So
could feel.
so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did she ever have the microphone? Did she ever get a chance to speak? Like,
Yeah, yeah, she did. They, you know, when you get farther off into it, she did get a chance to speak. They respected her, and I mean, you know, they had the remarks, and they
was
finally
that
all kind of
before
say
was
it
that
again.
before the pastor preached?
Yeah, yeah, it was before the pastor preached. So,
Okay.
you know, they were able to do the remarks and everything. So they gave her the opportunity to speak. Here is the issue, though. The issue, as she got up, she continued to say, "Hey, listen, you know, I basically did this whole thing myself." Now, I don't. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you, man, because it's already out there. You will hear her say, as the family is walking out, she's like, "You don't need to be here anyway, because Frederick Bellamy is the father of my son."
Wow.
So the family member that had been the quote unquote estranged father wasn't even the father of the son. So she says, "Listen, I need you to understand, don't come back trying to get anything off of his insurance." And she said that for a reason. She was very intentional. She said, "Don't come back trying to."
Did she say that when she was giving those remarks?
Yeah, yeah. That when they're walking out, she makes that statement. Now, here's the thing. Enough about that funeral. You've seen enough of it yourself, and others. I'm sure it's all you got to do is Google it, man. Starcoin, Washington. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all over there. But here is the point that I wanted to make in tonight, or with tonight's topic. As I was watching that, as I was watching the funeral, the burial, just crazy. And I'll talk about the burial after we get through our topic tonight, because there's another part of that whole funeral thing that I want to discuss on my podcast, that I think I can discuss because it's my podcast. And I'll just let y'all know what it's going to be. Y'all going to have to learn how to do better at dressing at these funerals. You fellas, you fellas that's 35 and 40 years old, coming in with your daggum pants down, your behind showing, sagging. Your ladies coming up with the spandex, you ain't got no drawers on, you ain't got no, I mean, you coming up, the girl was at the burial twerking, acting, I mean, it was crazy, man. But I'll talk about that later. But I just kind of wanted to throw that out there to let you know that's where I'm going with it. But tonight, man, I brought you on. um, and you know, we had already kind of done a test run on this, so it was supposed to be, um, it was supposed to be, you know, a different platform. Now we got some fools on YouTube that's gonna come on here and say some stupid stuff, and I'm watching some silly stuff. Some dude talking about we support gays or so. I don't know what these fools are talking about. But anyway, you know how it goes on YouTube. So
Yeah.
here's the thing, man. Um, what's interesting about that situation is that the young lady sounded like she was the one that was not healed. Notice I'm not saying it didn't sound like she was hurt, but she sounded like the one uh, who was not only healed, but she was whole for as good as she could be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. When you talk about for good as she could be, that's a couching of it, and that's a way for us to really build on that statement and the assessment of what was being viewed. And so there's a fundamental difference, and I hope people understand that the difference between being healed and whole is that healing or being healed is the process of becoming whole.
Mm-hmm.
And wholeness is really on the other side. It's completeness. It's really where one has completed the process, gone through it, and is whole now because of the process of healing. And so when one is being healed, as we say in the past tense, but it's really a present tense. Um, it's being engaged in the process, and for each and every person, that process is different.
Yeah,
It's,
man.
it's, it's different.
Yeah. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I said that. Because what was interesting to me was to see her go through her rant, right? And then to see the
Mm-hmm.
people who were supposed to be quote unquote whole, they
Whole,
they got
right?
up and walked out. So
But
now the
that
question,
was that was your indication of them not being whole.
exactly. And so my point is with when we talk about when Jesus, we know about the 10 lepers, right? The 10
Mm-hmm.
lepers. He asked the question when the one leper comes back. He says, listen, they begged for a master. They were yelling for a master, have mercy on us, please heal us, etc., etc. There is a lot involved theologically that this is not the audience that I want to get into a whole lot of theological discussion with from the standpoint of the Talmud law, the amount of distance they had to stay away from people, the isolation that they
Right.
must have felt. So, but there are some real hard points that I want to press about the fact that when Jesus sent those 10 away, as they went, they were obviously healed. So he said, go show yourself. But only one came back, and he says, because you came back, he says, you've been made well, or you've been made whole. Tonight, I just want to hear you talk about it on what that healed and whole is, because there are a lot of people who are walking around and you're healed from a situation, but you're not whole from it. You're healed from a situation, but you're not whole from it. Because if that were the case, you can be healed from a situation, but your attitude doesn't have to change when the person or the situation rises in your face. Do you see what I'm saying? So if
Yeah.
Johnny upset Jimmy and Jimmy says that he's over it and he's done with it, then Johnny shouldn't affect Jimmy's attitude when Jimmy sees Johnny. If you're whole,
Right.
I'll pause there and let you talk.
Well, when I talk about the process and understanding the difference between being healed and whole, typically healing is a process. Um, but what kind of process is it? It's the process of recovery. It's the process of recovering from something that is traumatic, some form of injury, illness, emotional scars, you know, that really has given you a sense of brokenness, man. And not only brokenness, but I would even say alienation. And on the other hand, when we talk about wholeness, we're talking about being complete. You know, it's about a state of it's a state of being without lack, if I can use that
Mm-hmm.
word. It's having a form of existence that says what has damaged me before can no longer damage me. Jesus asked many people, do you want to be healed? Would you like to be healed? Your faith has healed you. But there was one brother who he said, you've been made whole, and I think often when we look at this, one thing we miss from the whole thing, and I think you intimated it. One thing we miss from it all, wholeness. What healed doesn't have with it is peace. Wholeness does. Wholeness does.
Man, listen. What you that right there, that's a killer right there. What healing does not have with it is the peace. Wholeness has peace.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just hit you with a like on that, Doc, because that's 100% right there. And there are a lot of people. Let me ask you this, man. What I have seen in almost 40 years of being in the people business is that there are a lot of people who walk around and they boast very vociferously and voluminously how they are healed or how they are over it, et cetera, only to discover that when the right situation or the right tap or the right touch comes along, you find out, man, it's amazing on how you thought you were quote unquote over it, but apparently there's some scars that can still be ripped, and there's some tenderness that's still there that, watch this, that miss the peace component that you're saying is required to be whole.
Yeah, man. It has to be, because for me, peace. The Bible talks about several kinds of peace. In the sense, there's peace in God, peace with God, peace of God.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of us to acquiesce toward all three simultaneously is such an arduous task in life. As young adults say, when life be life and people be people. The best place of peace I found is solitude and seclusion.
Man.
And then my re-engagement in society is upon my own volition. Not because I'm being forced somewhere, because I'm being pulled somewhere. I have the decision to make about me and my life. A lot of times, because we're so broken and we're so codependent, we can never be healed, so we can never be whole, because we have so many dependencies. And if we get rid of the dependencies and remain one dependent, and that is, I'm dependent on God solely and totally. When we get to that place and we operate in those three levels of peace, and in operating in those three levels of peace, then we're able to make everyone else around us better. Now we become the thermostat and the thermometer of our own environment. And then we get to choose who we want to help, who we're going to stay around and let hang around. Because when you have toxic people in your life, they're in your life because they are allowed to be there. I told my church on Sunday, it's time for you to cut the cord. It's time for you to let some people go in your life.
Yeah.
Because this is the place where you've got to be the best for you.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah, and I believe, man, when you're healed, it's a good thing, man. That means you survived. But when you're whole, that means you can thrive, right?
Exactly. That's a great linguistic exercise, which you just did right there. That's exactly it.
Yeah. I mean, because I see all the time, and I know even for me, man, even thinking about this topic, I had to really ask myself. I mean, there are situations, not only even contemporarily, but there are some historical situations, man, that I was reflecting myself on, because I'm not gonna broach a topic that I don't necessarily have some type of experience in personally, where my own transparency is not going to be included in this transformative, this transformative process. But
Dialogue. Yeah.
but at the end of the day, the bottom line is, man, is that there are a lot of people who have survived hurt, who have survived abandonment, who survived. I mean, you can run the laundry list of things that people have survived on. But the
Tim,
question, yeah,
mm, listen, Tim, hurt, injury, hurt and injury is a part of life.
mm,
And not only is it a part of life, but it's a part of life anatomically. Because God already put in us the capacity to heal ourselves. Our body is a great representation of God, us everything we need to be healed.
mm-hmm.
And letting us understand the symbolisms of this process and how it takes place. God had already predestined and pre-thought the whole underpinning of injury. So he put within inside the body a self-healing mechanism where you don't even need a band-aid. It's called a scab.
Mm.
And so what that says to me is, when I go through the emotional scars that life will deliver me, the mental anxiety that I have, and having the traumatic experiences in my mind, I go back to my source, who's already placed in me healing components, the capacity to heal. And therefore, my connection to him helps me deal with everything out and around me. That's where I find those levels of peace, man. Because I cannot be in the place where people who are broken try to break me.
Oh, woo! Please say that again.
I cannot stay around people who are broken that are trying to break me.
Man, I almost want to end the podcast right there, because I'm telling you that right there, that's a haymaker. And I think that the problem is that people who may be healed are allowed to hang around people who have been made whole. Watch this. And the people who have been made whole find themselves hurting themselves unnecessarily by hanging around people who are only healed. And what you just said, I can't let hurt people break me.
Yeah, broken people.
I can't let broken people break me.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
So now, how do you reconcile that when you're around broken people, and it's people that you care about, people that you love, people that people that are in your circle, et cetera, et cetera. How do you reconcile that with good conscience and say, listen, at the end of the day, the bottom line is, you are too toxic. You have too many ups and downs and too many ebbs and flows. I can still mess with you. I can still deal with you, but there are only certain compartments that I'm going to allow you access. Is that a good prescription?
It's a very good prescription. And the thing about it is, you the Bible says, leave a fool in his folly.
Leave a fool what?
In his folly.
Absolutely.
Confucius says, never argue with a fool, because if a stranger passes by, they'll never know the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, the Bible tells us, a fool and his money will soon depart. And so when you recognize a fool, you don't deal with a fool.
Yeah, and a fool is somebody who basically, let me just say this. This is my definition of a fool. A fool is a person that has the right information, has the right knowledge, but refuses to apply it properly and continues to get unwanted results and undesired outcomes.
That's a great definition for stupidity.
Which is a fool to me. It just,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean
Yep.
it's just where
Yep.
you're ignorant of it. So talk to me, man. Tell me just a little bit, um, because we're gonna wrap it here in a minute. But tell me a little bit about what does a person, what's the litmus test for a self-diagnosis of whether or not I'm healed and truly whole, or I'm truly healed and not yet whole.
Well, that's a great question, and I think it's I want to say it's kind of like a case by case kind of deal because of the mental capacity for each individual. When we talk about EI, emotional intelligence,
Right.
things of that nature, um, there are some things that the greatest power that an individual has is the power of forgiveness.
Mm.
Simply because if you don't use that power, then you relegate that power to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? Your refusal to forgive hurts you, not the person that you are refusing to.
Yeah.
That's giving up too much power. So I would say that the litmus test for this is the ability to forgive and allow forgiveness to take place for you, because that ability heals your soul. It heals your soul, which frees up your spirit, and then the very people who wronged you, you're able to bless.
So listen. So watch this. It goes back. When you see it, it goes back to the subject we were talking about earlier, the funeral, the Star Coin watching the funeral, right? I don't know if you got to the part to where the mother says to whoever the lady was on that row, she
Front
said,
row.
"Yeah, I don't know who that lady was. I don't know if that's the daddy's.
She taught.
I
Yeah.
don't know what it is.
She said, "I forgive you."
That's where I was going with it, Doc.
Yep.
Now the woman that everybody was wanting to judge and say she was wrong or say she just heard it, etc., etc. When she said, "I forgive you," and she didn't say it sarcastically,
No, she didn't.
she was very sincere. The woman in whom she was saying, "I forgive you" to was rejecting the girl's offering. So this is
Because
why I said, tell me who
she's
was
broke.
healed and who was whole. Because I think the
She
girl, go ahead.
she the, she was broken. The one who she was telling her, "I forgive you,"
Yeah.
and there's a reason why she had to tell her, "I forgive you," because she was broke and she wanted to break her, and hurt people, right?
Yeah.
So she tried to break her. She tried to hurt her.
Now
She tried to
talk about
infect.
that a little bit, Steve, because I don't understand when you say she tried to break her because I thought she was very sincere in her offering. You're saying
Well,
that,
I'm talking about the woman that she said, "I forgive
oh
you."
yeah,
She
yeah,
she continued to try to do what she had already done, and that's why she was not receptive to it.
man,
Because when people who are broken and injured and traumatized emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, all they know is chaos. All they
God,
know is toxicity. All they know is trauma. Dr. Judas Seals has a great book out called Getting Rid of Excess Baggage. And one of those chapters, she says, she has a chapter on cherishing your own rage.
mm,
People who are hurt and not whole, who refute and who walk in brokenness, they cling on to rage because that's their connectivity to what their trauma, how their trauma was expressed. And they cannot be healed because they cherish the rage. They cherish being toxic. They cherish being just a person who keeps drama going. And that's why they can't stay in relationships. That's why they want to be loved, but they can't be lovable.
Mm, mm, mm.
I want to be loved, but I'm unlovable. And let me tell you something. Until you really understand the love of God directed towards your life and falling in love with His love, you'll never know how to love.
No matter what you think theoretically, no matter how how you view it, no matter how much you say it, if you don't play it, it's just not going to come to pass.
It's not.
Yeah, the lady said, I forgive you. And it's interesting because I didn't understand what you were saying at first, but the fact that you were saying the woman that she was telling her, I forgive you, that woman was still trying to break her.
Yep.
And apparently the mother was not broken anymore because she was whole enough to get up there.
She couldn't be. She couldn't be broke.
Bruh.
Because she found dignity in her default, bruh.
And here's the point, Doc. Oh my gosh. When you are healed and not whole, you are still susceptible to being broken again.
Yep.
But when you finally get to that place to where you're whole, the opinions of other people, the thoughts of other people,
don't matter.
The infractions of other people, the fractures of other people's lives don't even matter. And what will happen is you will find yourself operating outside of the scope and the concern of others' observations and opinions about what you're doing in your whole life.
Exactly. Let me give you a perfect example of this, right? So I'm in my 50s, my mid 50s. My wife is in her 40s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at a homecoming, at the homecoming game at University of Miami. And my wife brought me some jeans for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I wore those jeans out to the homecoming, everything. And one of the brothers tried to clown on me about having these jeans on, these skinny jeans, and being in my 50s and stuff, like trying to keep it relevant. And I said to him, I'm sorry that you had to recognize your indeficiencies toward me, my brother, on how I choose to live my life in a cultural current climate that you feel as though you don't even relegate yourself or have any relevance to this current climate. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm sorry. This is what happens when you have a younger wife like that. And that went from, oh yeah, you got a younger wife. Let me see your pictures, right? So now, all of this.
What?
So now So now I'm tracing the steps now, and this extends itself all the way from college, and how this person viewed me from college, and never said anything from college, but always had an axe to grind with me. And so people are always going to be people. You should never expect anything different if they are not whole and healed. That right there was a clear indication of something that when we were 19 and 20 years old, that he still haven't gotten over.
Man, see, that's on him though, man. I mean, that's really the bottom line.
Of course. So my point is the example of people who when they're not healed and not whole, they still try to bring that toxicity towards you, and you're not the reason. You're just the object that they're pointing their gun at, because you're the closest thing that they can exercise their trauma against.
Wow. That they can exercise their trauma against.
Yep.
You're the closest thing they can exercise their boy. Man, you killing me tonight with these one-liners. So check it out. Um, I think it's clear on the difference between healed and whole. Again, this is not designed to be a theological discussion. It's designed just to be a personal discussion to talk about, the realities of life and everything. So, with that said, man, um, let everybody know who you are. Y'all already know if you've seen the graphic. I have Dr. Stephen Caldwell on with me. He's the pastor of the New Providence Missionary Baptist Church in Miami, Florida, in the Liberty City area. He's also been a university professor. He's also a state leader. He's a lot of stuff. But also,
Just like you.
yeah, also he's a Kappa man. Phi Nu
Yes, sir.
Pi to the day we die. But nonetheless, um, Dr. Stephen Caldwell is a friend and a brother, and we have very real conversations often. And with this being the pilot episode, this is the first one rolling out. And Steve will tell you, we had a whole platform. I mean, it was laid out, and some of y'all
Yeah.
might have seen the teaser. And literally right before coming on, I called him. I said, "Man, I don't have a clue what happened to my laptop, but it just totally went out." So everything in which we had set for you all, I promise you, we're gonna come back and we're gonna do it on a whole nother level in the next week or two. But Steve, I want you to talk just for a few more minutes, man. Talk a little bit about what you got going on, what you got coming up, what's happening down your way. I'm gonna shift it from our topic now. We're just gonna have a little fun, and then we're gonna let everybody get up out of here. But talk a little bit about what you got coming up, what's happening with you for the rest of the year, what's going on at the church, what's going on in business, what's going on with that family, little Savannah. Talk about that, some crazy stuff.
Yeah. I have the distinct privilege of being a girl dad. I've got 5 beautiful daughters, a lovely wife. Got a great church that it's what we call a medium-sized church in the heart of Miami, a place called Liberty City.
Mm-hmm.
We call ourselves the Lighthouse of Liberty City. We're not a mega church, but we have a mega church mentality. And so, we try to do things on an excellent level. And one of the things that we're working hard at being excellent at, and that is practicing our 4 major core values. And that is that we are redeeming, we're relative, we're relational, and we try to keep those things in front of people, man.
Mm-hmm.
And being redeeming, relevant, relational, and and relevant. I think we also have to keep things in mind as to where we are and stay connected to our culture and the current climate that we're in. So we have our Women in Ministry Month coming up. I forgot one R. Y'all forgive me. But we have our Women in
Yeah, hey
Ministry
man,
Month.
I wasn't gonna say nothing. I was gonna bust you out, but I was like, ha ha, this dude said
Yeah,
4.
yeah,
I only hear 3, bro. I only
yeah,
hear 3.
yeah. I said we're relevant, we're redeeming, we're relational, and that's the
And you
fourth
can't. Hey,
one,
watch
man.
this. And the fourth R is you can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. Relevant, relational, redeeming, and it's a fourth one, man. Praise God.
Hey, watch
Um,
this. Let me mess with you a little bit. You said it's a core value.
yeah,
It's a core value
core value.
that
Yes,
you
a
can't
core
remember
value.
the fourth one off.
Yeah, that's called a senior moment. That's called a senior moment. So, and I bet my staff is on this. And Pastor, why are you embarrassing us
I
like
was gonna
that?
say, if your
Hey,
people watching, boy, oh man, that ain't
yeah,
gonna be good. That's cool.
yeah. Listen. I'm still sitting there trying to figure it
I was
out.
gonna say
But
I could tell by the awkward pause. I said, boy, his brain is like working overtime. Somebody
yeah,
can text
man.
you. Somebody put in the chat if somebody from New Providence is watching, man. Y'all
Oh man.
put in the chat
It,
what the fourth R is for your pastor, because he doesn't know.
Need to be able to recall it, but it's very important, man. We have our Women Ministry Month coming up, and it's just a great time where I like to celebrate the women who do the work in the ministry, and so if it wasn't for the women in our churches, we wouldn't have any churches. And so I like to honor them, and keep everybody, loving on God. And so we have a great
So
slate of
is that a series of services y'all are gonna be doing or what?
yeah. In the month of November, we have our Women in Ministry Month. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. And where's the church located?
It's located in Liberty City, 760 Northwest 53rd Street, Miami, Florida 33127. Our service times at 10:15 a.m. And we love to see you coming. We have one service. We start at 10:15. We're done by 11:45. Out the door by 12. And we believe in family and faith, and we like people not to be church all day, but enjoy God with your family and talk about like a stale church model. We want you to leave the church and go home and talk about what the Lord did on Sunday.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And what's that
And
address
so
again?
that's
7 what?
760 Northwest 53rd Street.
Okay, 760 Northwest 53rd Street. Miami, what's the zip?
Miami, Florida 33127.
All right, man. Cool. So, all right, man, we're about to wrap it up, man. We got a couple of minutes, man. What's happening with the family?
Family's good. Family's good, man. We're like I said, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving coming up,
Cool.
and we're looking forward to it, man. And I'm excited by watching the growth of my daughters, man. It's just man, I'm telling you, man, being a girl dad, man. A lot of the newts like to say God is getting me back for our college days.
Yeah.
But man, I thank God for it. I thank God for it.
Yeah. Well, man, listen, I appreciate it, man. I know we had to, at the last minute, we had to make some changes and everything, but we're definitely going to come back and we're going to do it on the right side of right and get all this technology up and running. But since it was the first night out, the first time hitting it, we just had to pivot, make it do what it do. I appreciate you for your flexibility and everything. Next week, every week on the podcast, and of course, you're going to be coming back every week on the podcast, though. We'll be running down the feed. Like I was telling them earlier, the feed is going to be the news, and then from there, man, we're going to get into the focus, which is the topic that we'll be talking about. And then from there, man, we'll just kind of have fun with, talking about everything on social media, because we see all kind of crazy stuff. What's the craziest thing you saw on social media lately?
This funeral.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that funeral was off the chain. Yeah, that funeral was off the chain. But yeah, definitely, man, we're going to be having a good time. So I want everybody to join me here Mondays at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:05 p.m. Central. Make sure you join us right here at Temple Talk TV. And also want to invite everybody to make sure that you follow us here. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and you can get all the notifications. We had to flip it up a little bit today, but we made it through, because sometimes you got to be able to pivot. And only healed people couldn't make that pivot, but whole people can, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the bottom line is, you know what product you're going to put out. You know what product you can put out, so you don't worry about it. You just make it do what it do. And, man, I appreciate your time tonight.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, were there any questions tonight? Did anybody have any other comments?
Oh, that's.
Did we read any of that?
Yeah, I had been reading it, man. Hold on. I'm glad you said that. Let me see. I haven't been reading anything. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible host.
That's all right. We're working together.
Let's see what we have on it. I'm going to tell you what I see. I see somebody said, I listen, do you support gays? Yeah, no, I'm not going to touch that.
Do I support them in what? Track and field?
I don't know.
Baseball, football.
It looks like an Arabic name or something. So yeah, I guess that's. I didn't think to answer it like that. So yeah, I mean, so the person is asking, does he support gays? Yeah, I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, be a little bit more elaborative in your comment, and we'll certainly by all means answer anything. So anybody that is watching, we just want to open up the floor. I appreciate that, Steve, for reminding me. If you have a question, if you have a comment or anything, go ahead and hit us up. Now, no, we're gonna give it back to you. So make sure that if you jump out here in the pool, you can swim. That's all I'm saying.
It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't see anything. Um, Somebody's asking. I'm not really sure what this person means if you make macaroni pizza, but you know, YouTube has some characters on it, and when you get out here live on the web like this, you get all kinds of triple X hot
Yeah.
chocolate stuff and everything like that. So that just kind of comes to the territory. But you got the right one because I can promise you, I ain't running from nothing. You understand? But
Yeah.
nonetheless, man, what's that?
Yeah, the question was about macaroni pizza.
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably
Maybe.
somebody. Trust me, man. That's somebody who's I don't, and only because I don't have the technology on where I can filter a lot of this foolishness out. I just let it ride. I don't really care. Nobody's paying attention to them anyway. But yeah, I didn't see any questions that were germane or relative to the topic. And so, I mean, some may come up. If you have any questions or comments that you want to make after this live goes off, we'll be checking out the thread. And if there's anybody that gets on here that has any questions or any thoughts, and you want us to contact you, just let us know. We'll make sure we do that as well. But I want to appreciate you, man. I appreciate the time. I've taken up enough of your time. Uh, we made it do what it does. I'm happy about it, and looking forward to getting with you, man, over the next few weeks. Hopefully, I'll be able to see you when I get down to Florida this week as well.
All right, man. Listen, I'm looking forward to this, and trust me, man. Um, this is just beginning. I thank you for your birthing this and just allowing God to be a blessing through you to many, and it's just an awesome thing. If you all don't know this guy, he is a genius. He does things par excellent. I have the intellectual capacity to pontificate esoterical connotations and talk about dialectical tensions and philosophical renderings. This man can do that. Plus, he is an IT specialist. So, I stay in my lane, but I thank God you are my friend, you are my brother, and that we have an opportunity to work together, doing what this is doing for many.
Yeah, man. Well, we're gonna definitely do it, man. When I get into Studio A and we get that thing back up and running, man, we're gonna have it snap, crackling, and pop. I can promise you that. A lot of good topics, man. I got my next week's topic is cancel me. Nah, you can't cancel me. I'm already booked.
Oh, the cancel culture?
Yeah,
Cancel
yes,
culture?
yeah. So I'm gonna hit that whole cancel culture. It's gonna be a little provocative. It's gonna be a little incendiary, but it's all good. That's the whole purpose of having your own personal podcast. And so we look forward to doing that. Let me just invite everybody again to make sure you watch us. Tune in to us every Monday evening, 7:05 p.m. Eastern, 6:05 p.m. Central, 4:05 p.m. out on the Pacific Coast, Pacific West Coast for our live podcast, Talking in the Temple. I appreciate my guest today, Dr. Stephen Caldwell of the New Providence Church in Miami. Make sure you go by, if you're in the Miami area, make sure you go by and check out New Providence, where they have 4 tenets of their core values. I don't know if he's remembered the 4th R yet, but we're going to leave it. Did you remember it?
Oh man, listen. Let me
Never
tell you
mind.
something. No, we're redemptive, we're relational, we're relevant, and we are, amen,
We are,
restorational.
hey, watch this. We are releasing the people from this YouTube podcast. Thanks everybody for joining. We'll see y'all next week.
The last one was restoration, man. It was restoration.
Okay, he finally got he finally got
It
it.
was restoration, man. Hey, we restore people back to wholeness after they've been healed.
Okay, now you want to have a whole other conversation. We out of here. All right, everybody on YouTube. Peace out.
All right, thanks a lot.
Later.